At some point in your life, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself the truth. You know exactly what's holding you back. You've known for a long time, but you keep delaying it. Not because you can't change, but because staying the same is more comfortable than doing the work. It's 10 p.m. You lie in bed, and the realization hits, quietly, the way it always does, that today was not the day you intended to live. You were busy. You were reacting. You were scrolling, responding, putting out fires that weren't yours, while the thing that actually mattered sat untouched. Again. And the worst part isn't today. The worst part is the pattern. Because you've been here before. This same bed. This same feeling. This same quiet recognition that another day slipped through without direction. That's not a time problem. That's not a discipline problem. That's a clarity problem. Clarity without action is useless. Action without clarity is chaos. Real change requires both. 2,000 years ago, 3 men figured out exactly how to build both. Not as philosophers writing for posterity, as practitioners building tools for survival, in war, in slavery, in exile, at the edge of execution. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, 12 principles, 1 transformation. And if you apply even one of these tonight, tomorrow morning will be different. Not because the world changes, because you do. Before we begin, you need to understand who these men were. Because these aren't comfortable philosophers who thought about life from a distance. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. He managed a plague that killed 5 million people. He fought wars on multiple fronts. He dealt with betrayal inside his own family, and through all of it, he wrote private journals never intended for anyone else's eyes. Daily reminders, daily training, daily discipline. Epictetus was born a slave. He owned nothing. He had no freedom of movement, no rights, no property. And yet, he produced the most powerful philosophy of personal freedom in recorded history. Not because his circumstances improved, because his mind did. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, advisor to emperors, author of some of the most precise writing on how to live. He was eventually ordered to die by the emperor he had served. He faced his execution with the same calm he had practiced every morning for decades. 3 lives, every possible circumstance. 1 discovery. The quality of your life is determined entirely by the quality of your response to it. Not by what happens, by how you meet it. 12 principles. Starting now. Principle 1. Control only what is yours. You're exhausted. Not because life is too hard, because you are spending energy on things that were never within your power. Someone didn't reply the way you expected. A plan fell apart. A person you trusted let you down. And you are still carrying it. Hours later, days later, as though carrying it changes it. It doesn't. Epictetus opened the Enchiridion, his entire handbook for living, with this single distinction. Not halfway through, the very first line. Because he considered it the foundation of everything else. Some things are in our control and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion. Things outside our control are body, property, reputation, command. Read that again slowly. Your reputation, not yours. What other people think of you, not yours. Their mood, their words, their decisions, not yours. Your opinion, your response, your direction, always yours. A colleague misses a critical deadline. The project is in danger. You have 2 choices, and the choice happens in a fraction of a second. Option 1, spend the next 2 hours in panic, blame, and frustration, directing energy at something you cannot change. Option 2, redirect immediately. What is in my control right now? What can I fix? What is the next right move? Same situation. Completely different internal experience. Completely different outcome. The energy spent on the uncontrollable is energy lost permanently. And most people spend the majority of their emotional bandwidth on things that were never theirs to control. The practice? Every time something stresses you, one question. Is this within my control? If yes, act immediately. If no, release it entirely. Not reluctantly, not while still thinking about it, entirely. Partial release is not release. It is suffering with better posture. The dichotomy of control handles what's outside you. But there's an equally powerful battle happening inside, in the way your mind interprets what happens to you. And that interpretation is where most suffering is actually created. Principle 2. Your mind shapes your reality. Two people, same event, completely different lives afterward. They both apply for the same position. Neither gets it. The first says, "I'm not good enough. I never was." This confirms it. The second says, "That approach didn't work." What does this tell me about what to improve? Same rejection letter. One person uses it as evidence of limitation. The other uses it as data for development. The difference is not talent. It is not luck. It is the interpretation. Epictetus taught the discipline of assent, the practice of choosing which impressions deserve your belief. He was precise. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. The rejection didn't hurt you. Your judgment of what the rejection meant did, and that judgment is yours. It can be examined, it can be questioned, it can be changed. Here's the practice. Every time an event produces a strong emotional reaction, pause. Separate the fact from the story. The fact: the application was unsuccessful. The story: I am not capable. I will never succeed. The fact is almost always survivable. It's the story that destroys. And the story is constructed, which means it can be reconstructed. You are not a passive receiver of what happens to you. You are the author of what it means. The Stoic practice. When something provokes a reaction, ask 3 questions. Is this interpretation true? Is it the only possible interpretation? Is it useful? 3 honest answers. And watch the emotional intensity drop. Not because the event changed, because the story did. Perception reframes the meaning of events. But there is a category of suffering that reframing alone cannot prepare you for, the difficulty you never saw coming. The Stoics had a specific practice for that, and it is one of the most counterintuitive tools on this list. Principle 3. Embrace discomfort deliberately. Your brain is designed to avoid discomfort. Every impulse toward procrastination, every early exit, every distraction chosen over difficulty is not weakness, it is biology. But here is what that biology costs you. Every time you avoid something uncomfortable, you send one message to your mind: that was too much for me. And your mind files it and uses it next time to avoid again, faster. The avoidance compounds. The comfort zone shrinks. The things that once felt manageable begin to feel impossible. Epictetus reversed this deliberately. He practiced voluntary discomfort, cold, hunger, hard conversations, not because suffering was noble, because comfort had become a requirement, and requirements are chains. He taught, seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but first practice a little what you do not like. Every time you choose the uncomfortable thing deliberately, you are not just completing a task, you are rewriting the filing system. Replacing that was too much with "I have done this before." The hard conversation at work you have been avoiding, lean into it. The workout you skip when you don't feel ready, begin before the feeling arrives. The project you delay because failure feels possible, start the first sentence before the fear forms an argument. Each choice builds a specific kind of evidence, evidence that discomfort is survivable, and a mind with that evidence does not flinch when difficulty arrives uninvited. Voluntary discomfort builds tolerance for what you face directly. But there is a second layer of preparation the Stoics practiced that most people never attempt. It involves imagining loss before it happens, and it changes everything about how you experience what you have. Principle 4. Negative visualization. You are going to lose things, not as a possibility, as a certainty. The relationship that feels permanent isn't. The health you take for granted, temporary. The work that defines you, changeable. The people you love, mortal. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding this recognition. They believe that not thinking about loss makes them less vulnerable to it. The Stoics did the opposite, and they were right. Seneca called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we had come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing, not pessimism, the most powerful form of gratitude available. Here is what happens when you imagine loss deliberately. The things you take for granted become visible again. The relationship you stopped appreciating, suddenly felt. The health you ignore, suddenly precious. The ordinary Tuesday morning, suddenly irreplaceable." A surgeon who has mentally rehearsed every complication is not surprised when one occurs. Their hands stay steady because their mind has already been there. The practice. Tonight, choose one thing you value, a person, your health, your work, your freedom. Imagine it gone. Sit with that for 60 seconds. Then open your eyes. It is still there. That is not morbidity. That is the Stoic practice of presence. The prepared mind doesn't fear loss. It appreciates what remains. Negative visualization prepares you for what might be taken. But there is a resource being taken from you right now, silently, daily, without announcement, that most people never protect. That resource is time. Principle 5. Time is your only irreplaceable asset. Lose money, you can earn it back. Lose health, you can sometimes recover it. Lose time, it is gone, permanently, without exception, without appeal. Seneca opened one of his most important letters with a statement that should stop every person reading it. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Not a philosophical observation, a diagnosis. Because most people are not short on time. They are short on awareness of where it goes. Think about the last 7 days. Not what you intended to do, what you actually did. The hours spent in passive consumption, the decisions deferred, the work that mattered, displaced by work that felt urgent. Seneca again, writing to a friend who had wasted years. Omnia aliena sunt, tempus tantum nostrum est. Everything is alien to us. Time alone is ours, and yet most people treat it as though it belongs to everyone else. To every notification, to every request, to every distraction that presents itself as necessary. The practice. Track 1 week honestly. Not how you wish you spent your time, how you actually did. Identify the hours that produced nothing you value, then, one by one, reallocate them. 20 minutes a day of deliberate practice compounds into transformation within a year. Not because 20 minutes is large, because it is yours, and most people give that away before they've even noticed it was available. Time is the external resource most wasted, but there is an internal resource equally wasted, one that no amount of time management addresses. The Stoics called it inner peace, and it cannot be bought by anything external. Principle 6. Inner peace cannot be found outside. You have believed, at some level, that the right achievement would bring the feeling you're looking for, the right salary, the right recognition, the right relationship, the right version of your life, after which the restlessness would finally stop. It doesn't stop, not because achievement is worthless, but because the feeling you are looking for is not located in any of those places. Marcus Aurelius had everything external society offers: power, wealth, influence, legacy. And he wrote to himself privately, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking," not as consolation. As the most precise observation he had made after decades of having everything and finding that none of it produced what he was describing. You land the promotion. The excitement lasts 3 weeks. The pressure that follows, indefinitely, And without the inner calm to meet that pressure, the success feels hollow, not because you don't deserve it, because the internal architecture was never built. Inner peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of a trained response to it. The practice. Stop locating peace in the future. Stop saying, when this happens, I will feel settled. Ask instead, what would it feel like to respond to this moment, exactly as it is, with calm and clarity? Practice that response once, in one small moment, today. That practice, repeated daily, is the architecture, and it is built nowhere else. Inner peace is your relationship with your own experience. But most suffering doesn't come from your own experience. It comes from other people. And the Stoics had a specific way of understanding others that removes almost all of that suffering immediately. Principle 7. People act from ignorance, not malice. Someone betrayed your trust. Someone dismissed your work. Someone said something that cut deeper than they had any right to. And the anger that followed felt completely justified. Here is what the Stoics would ask. What do you know about what was happening inside that person in the moment they acted? Not to excuse the behavior, to understand its source. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, as a reminder he apparently needed to repeat, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are this way because they cannot tell good from evil. Not cynicism, preparation, and underneath it, empathy. Because a person who cannot tell good from evil is not a villain. They are lost. The colleague who undermined you in the meeting was afraid. The friend who disappeared when you needed them was overwhelmed. The person who lashed out was in pain that had nothing to do with you. None of this means their behavior was acceptable. It means your anger at their behavior is costing you more than it is costing them. Reacting emotionally to someone else's dysfunction hands them control of your internal state. And they didn't earn that. The practice. The next time someone provokes you, before responding, ask, what might be driving this? Fear, pain, conditioning, ignorance? You don't have to forgive immediately. You don't have to excuse anything. Just pause long enough to stop handing your internal state to someone who doesn't know what to do with it. Understanding others removes reactive suffering. But there is one practice that removes something deeper. The anxiety that comes from pretending the most important fact about your life isn't true. Principle 8. Remember, you will die. You will die. Not as a distant abstraction, as the most certain fact of your existence. And yet, most people live as though they have unlimited time. They delay the conversation, they postpone the work, they save the important thing for later, for when conditions are better, for when they feel more ready, for when they have more time. Marcus Aurelius kept death at the center of his philosophy, not morbidly, as the sharpest possible clarifying force available to a human mind. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Read that as an instruction, not a warning. What would you do differently if you treated today as though it genuinely might be the last one you get? Which conversation would you have? Which work would you finally begin? Which relationship would you stop neglecting? Which version of yourself would you stop postponing? The Stoic practice of memento mori, remember you will die, is not a practice of despair. It is the practice of urgency, of clarity, of refusing to live a life designed by your fears when the alternative is a life designed by your values. The practice? Ask yourself tonight, if this year were my last, what would I stop tolerating? What would I start? What would I release? Then do one of those things tomorrow, not all of them. 1. Because the person who does one thing differently tomorrow is already living differently than the person who doesn't. Memento mori creates urgency, but urgency without discipline produces nothing but anxiety. The next principle is where urgency becomes structure. Principle 9. Discipline is the architecture of freedom. Most people understand discipline as restriction, as the absence of pleasure, as the rigid enforcement of rules upon an unwilling self. The Stoics understood it entirely differently. Epictetus, the man who had experienced total external constraint, understood freedom more precisely than anyone who had never been denied it. He taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself, not master of his circumstances, not master of other people, not master of outcomes, master of himself, and mastery of self is not built through restriction. It is built through consistent, deliberate practice of choosing who you are, in small moments that feel too insignificant to matter. The person who cannot resist the distraction cannot resist the provocation. The person who cannot keep the small commitment cannot keep the large one. The person who is controlled by their moods is controlled by everything that affects their moods. Without discipline, you are a slave to impulse. And impulse is controlled by whoever or whatever generates the most immediate stimulus. With discipline, you move through the world from the inside out. Your choices precede external events. Your direction is set before the noise arrives. The practice, one commitment, made and kept daily. Not the largest commitment you can imagine, the smallest one you have been breaking. Because the habit of keeping commitments to yourself, built from the smallest possible version, compounds into the kind of self-trust that makes everything else on this list possible. Discipline builds the internal structure. But the Stoics also had a specific philosophy for what to do when that structure meets its hardest test, when the obstacle is not just difficult, but seemingly immovable. Principle 10. The obstacle is the way. Something is blocking you, a failed project, a closed door, a circumstance that shouldn't be this hard, a person standing between you and what you're building, and every instinct says, get around it, find another route, wait until it moves. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that has outlasted every empire he managed. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Not metaphorically, precisely. The project that failed revealed the flaw in the strategy. Without the failure, the flaw remained hidden. With it, exposed, addressable, correctable. The door that closed redirected energy toward the one that was actually going to open. The person who blocked you forced the development of a skill you would never have needed to build otherwise. Marcus Aurelius faced this truth at the highest possible stakes. Multiple military campaigns, a plague that killed a quarter of the empire, political betrayal at the innermost level, and in every case, the obstacle became the training ground. The plague demanded medical infrastructure that outlasted it. The military campaigns built tactical knowledge that protected the empire for decades. The betrayal clarified who could be trusted. The obstacle is not in your way, it is your way. And the person who understands that stops wasting energy on the wish that it weren't there and starts extracting everything it has to offer. The practice. Name the obstacle currently in front of you, the specific one. Then ask, what skill does navigating this require me to develop? What would I know on the other side of this that I cannot know without going through it? That question reframes the obstacle from something to survive into something to use. 10 principles, 2 remain. And these last 2 are where everything becomes daily practice, where philosophy becomes the person. Principle 11. Reflect every evening. Most people end their days the same way they began them, reactively. They move from the last task to the screen to sleep, without ever stopping to examine what the day actually produced, what it revealed, what it cost them. Seneca practiced his most important discipline every single evening. He wrote, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said. I hide nothing from myself. I omit nothing. Not judgment, not self-punishment, data. Where did I react when I should have paused? Where did I spend energy on what I cannot control? Where did I follow a story rather than a fact? Where did I avoid what I should have faced? 3 minutes. every evening, before sleep, not to feel bad about the answers, to learn from them. Because the person who examines their behavior daily improves in ways that are invisible to those who never look. The gap between who they are and who they are capable of becoming, examined honestly nightly, narrows, not dramatically, not all at once, but consistently, irreversibly. Seneca wrote to his friend Lucilius, "Every day acquire something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, against other misfortunes." The evening review is that acquisition, not knowledge from outside, wisdom extracted from your own experience, night after night, until the person reviewing their day is unrecognizable to the person who started. The evening review closes the day with examination. The final principle opens the next day with intention, and together, these two bookends are where the entire philosophy becomes a life. Principle 12. Live deliberately, not by default. Most people don't choose their lives. They inherit them. The career that made sense given the path they were already on. The habits that formed because nothing interrupted them. The values adopted from everyone around them, examined later if ever. And one day they look up and ask, how did I end up here? Not because something went wrong, because nothing was ever consciously chosen. Seneca identified this as the deepest form of waste. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it. Life is long if you know how to use it. Not a condemnation, an instruction. Life is long enough if you choose to live it. Living deliberately means asking, daily, not what is happening to me, but what am I choosing to do with what is happening? Not what others expect, but what I actually value, not the path of least resistance, but the path that, at the end of it, I will have been glad I took. The practice. One question. Every morning, before the world has access. Am I living today in a way I will be proud of tonight? If yes, proceed. If no, what changes? One answer, one adjustment, one day. That question, asked daily, is the difference between a life that happens to you and a life you actually lived. Think about the 10 p.m. version of yourself, the one lying in bed, the one who recognized the pattern. That version of you came to this video looking for something, not inspiration, not motivation. A different way of meeting the day. 12 principles, not 12 things to remember. 12 ways of seeing. Control what is yours. Interpret events with accuracy. Choose discomfort before it chooses you. Prepare for what might be lost. Protect your time as the only irreplaceable resource. Build peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Meet other people's behavior with understanding rather than reaction. Keep death in view, not as fear but as clarity. Build discipline as the architecture of freedom. Use obstacles as the training ground. Examine your days with honesty. And choose, deliberately, daily, the life you intend to live. Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. 3 lives, 2,000 years. 1 discovery. The quality of your life is determined entirely by the quality of your response to it. Tonight, the 10 p.m. moment will come again, but this time, you will lie in bed with something different. Not the recognition of another day wasted, the knowledge of exactly what to do tomorrow. The world doesn't need to change for your life to change. You do. Which of these 12 principles landed hardest for you today? Drop the number in the comments. Just the number. Your first answer is the right one. Subscribe for daily Stoic philosophy that actually changes how you respond to the world. Not inspiration, not motivation. Method. Tested across 2,000 years. The world doesn't need to change. You do. Start tonight.